Hello, this is Mirdad Quikamali, and in today's lecture we are going to talk about the introduction to text analytics. There are three main objectives for this lesson. First, we are going to go over some of the basics of the text analytics and the difference between text mining, text analytics. Then we are going to talk about the regular expression in Python and how to handle textual information in Python. And finally, we are going to finish that with a couple of examples. So first, what is text mining? So basically, application of information retrieval data mining techniques that accommodate text as an input variable knowledge discovery or predictive modeling is known as text mining. So text mining is called with different names, text data mining or knowledge discovery in textual databases. But the whole process is to find and identify novel information from collection of texts, which are in fact known as corpus. So what happens here is that you have loss of textual information and something happens in the middle, possibly a miracle, and then you get some numbers. So when you have some numbers, now you can process that for any type of algorithms or modeling. And that's known as a very important step in the text mining. So examples of text-based documents are very different. First, you have your emails, and inside the emails, many of the content is text-based. Then you have the web pages that some content on the web pages is usually text-based. You have customer surveys if there is any open-ended questions and that people provide their feedback. That would be a text piece of information. You have resumes, medical records, DNA, sequences, technical papers, incidental reports such as police document, news stories, and etc. But do you have enough time to read all of these documents? Probably not. And there is no reason for that because we have a very good technique that we can use. But the goal is to extract very valuable information or kernels from the textual information. So hopefully we can find a way to gain knowledge, right? So we are focused on gaining some valuable information. And we don't want to read all of these documents by hand, of course, or manually. There is another possibility that some of these documents are going to be very difficult to read. So if you are not an expert in that field, it would be very difficult for you to understand all of the main components and know which piece of information is the more important piece. So in the traditional data mining techniques, we usually use the structured data or basically the spreadsheets of the values that we use. But the analysis of free-form text is based on unstructured data, and that's the value of it, because many information in the corporate world is text or unstructured. Of course, we are going to hopefully plan to combine structured and unstructured data in a way that we can create valuable insights that are actionable. So we can get to the semi-structured format. We talked about the examples of text mining, but don't forget about the value of these information that is usually neglected because of the difficulty of handling the information. For example, if you have the medical records that are all these information about the patient's diagnosis, the doctor's notes, the nurse notes, all of these information that are not structured, if that is not used, that is the very big loss because that could help another patient to recover faster, and that's going to be a very important step. So our goal is to hopefully create value for many different applications. But what is the main difference between text mining, data mining? We talked about the structure and unstructured format of the data, but in text mining, we are building many of the algorithms based on the natural language processing or NLP. So we are going to talk about the NLP later on, but don't forget the value of the linguistic processing and the traditional way of looking at the human way of talking. And the applications usually deal with the much more diverse and very different collections of the systems and formats. So it's very important to know the process of information retrieval, how we can get the textual information, how we can handle that before we actually start an analysis of the textual information. But of course, data mining is usually based on the structured data. You have, of course, you may do some data cleaning, processing, pre-processing, but that's much more of known steps that you can take. But for textual information, depending on the way that you get the data, if it's social media data, if it's Twitter data, it's totally different from Amazon reviews or from medical records. So you need to find a way that you can handle that based on the case.
There are two main perspectives on the data mining field, and the first perspective, or first perspective, they believe the text mining is a combination of non-novel and novel techniques. So basically, text mining is not just a simple extension to data mining, and the process of mining precious nuggets of ore from a mountain or otherwise worthless rock is known as text mining. So it's a very important step, and the process creates valuable insights.
The crazy perspective talks about the kind of a mixture of a non-novel, semi-novel, and novel areas in text mining. So the non-novel piece is when you get the data, right? So just find the textual information. The semi-novel is a process of using the data mining techniques. That is kind of a knowledge discovery step. And finally, the intelligent text mining, that you can build some machine learning algorithms based on the textual information or based on the numbers you captured from the textual information. So let's think about this graphic here that is basically talking about different formats of the textual information, different formats of the structured and unstructured data. And in data mining, we usually focus on the structured format of the data, but there are some different applications that they only wanted to also take a look at the other formats of the data. That one of them is going to be that free text. So they get confused about the information extraction. That's not going to be same as text mining. That's a big no. And information extraction, that's when you actually get the data. You get the information you need, extract facts about the pre-specified entities, events, or relationships from the unrestricted data sources. And there's no novelty in that, right? So only information is already present, extracted. You're not creating any additional information or knowledge. But we're going to talk about that chart later on about the information retrieval. But the key here is that language component, because that is the way you can interpret and understand the information. Of course, people talk in different ways, but there is going to be some well-known facts about that language that we are using those to interpret the information. Remember, we are not doing anything by hand. We are going to tell the computer, we're going to tell the algorithm that is the process of understanding the text. So text analytics is basically a combination of information retrieval plus data mining or plus text mining. So text analytics is the combination of the information retrieval and text mining. And it does include the information retrieval, it does include the information extraction, data mining, and possibly web mining. And this is the whole spectrum of text mining and text analytics from one of the data mining books, and talks about areas that you need to take a deeper look into to understand and know before you can actually create a full spectrum of the text analytics. And without one of those areas, your text analytics methodology would be possibly inaccurate or incomplete. So what are the application areas for text mining? The information extracting, we already talked about that. Topic tracking, if you are interested in news agencies and on specific topics and you want to just mine the whole data that is published on social media or possibly on web sources, that is the area you wanted to take a look at. And that doesn't mean that you're only looking at the main keyword, you're looking at the topic. There's another area about summarization or categorization. It's a fourth area. There's a clustering methodology specifically for textual information is a very important step. You have the concept linking, and finally you have the question answering, which is basically what we are building for some of the bots that you propose a question, you ask a question, and on the chat bot, there's going to be an answer for that. So going back to our previous discussion, there is a good reason for paying too much attention to text mining because of the amount of data that is unstructured, mostly text. And 85 to 90% of the corporate data is some form of unstructured data. And every 18 months, the amount of unstructured data is going to be doubled. And hopefully we can use text mining methodology or some of the combination of text mining and text analytics to extract the valuable information. There are some reasons that, of course, that 85-90% is not tapped that much, and that's basically built on the difficulty of handling the textual information. You have multiple synonyms for one word. That's going to make it difficult to understand what is the main meaning, and that's known as the synonymy concept. You have the polysemy concept, which is one term can be used in different concepts, in different contexts for different concepts. And finally, because every single document is composed of many words, for example, 5,000 words, 10,000 words, when you build a corpus, when you create a term document matrix, that is going to be a very large matrix. And remember, we have hundreds of documents, each one has thousands of words. That curse of dimensionality is going to be another reason that many of those corporate textual information is not really dig that much. So these are some of the references for the information I put here, and feel free to take a look at those references, and I'll see you in the next lecture.